so much for tuning in to Ray of Hope, the podcast. I am your host, Dr. Raya White, the CEO and founder of Raya's Razor Light Foundation, LLC. I am so excited about this episode. Tonight, we are going to be talking about representation matters. And for this episode, I have two dynamic queens with me. I have Jennifer Adams, who I've known since high school in the 90s, and my friend Alexis Carol Wymer. I am so excited. These ladies are great. You're going to get a lot of great information tonight. We're going to talk about representation and what it means to us. We hope that you watch this episode, give us some feedback about what representation means to you. So for starters, I am going to have Jennifer give you some background information about herself. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for accepting my invitation and coming on Ray of Hope.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. My name is Jennifer Adams. I'm a Columbus native. I've been here all my life, born and raised, love this place. I'm a true Buckeye. I'm actually a photographer, mother of four. I'm an artist and an advocate for the people. I am very much a thinker, and I like to provoke thought. So hopefully we can really get this thing going today. So.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Next we have Alexis Wymer.
Hi, y'all. I am also a mother, a wife. I have a mother of five. I have four girls and one little boy. I'm so excited about being a mother. I'm also a nurse, and I'm also an advocate for mental health, specifically for those who have endured emotional abuse, with a focus on an emphasis on mothers. And I'm so excited to be here. I'm so thankful and so honored, Raya, that you invited me to be here today.
Thank you so much. So for this episode, as you can see, we are in our natural state. There's no makeup, there's no lashes, there's no extensions. This is our natural selves, our authentic selves. And that was important because we want to represent our community, and we want to our young women to see some other type of role models other than what they see on social media and the videos and all these TikTok stars, Instagram stars. So we want to bring you something different. So for representation, we want to represent strength in being your natural self, whatever that means to you. So Jennifer, let's talk about what it means to you when we think about authentic representation and true being of self.
So, funny story. Me being a photographer, I also am a mother. I have a 17-year-old daughter. And one of the first things I did was I sat her down and I showed her my Photoshop program. I'm sure everyone knows about Photoshop, correct?
Yes.
And the way I presented it to her was that Beyonce is not Beyonce. Beyonce is a product of a whole squad.
Yes.
And makeup enhancements, and there's this aesthetic that's being sold to our children that's unrealistic, and what happens, it gives this false sense of beauty,
right?
And when you think of beauty, I think of value,
right?
And there's a thing of pretty privilege. I do believe that, but at the same time, you get to decide what is valuable to you, what is beauty to you. And I was just showing my daughter how easy it is for me to remove a blemish on a face,
right,
or to thin out a nose, or so once again, it's an illusion. This standard is an illusion, and I just want to make sure that she's comfortable in her own skin, and that God doesn't make mistakes,
right,
and she's flawless to me.
She is. She's a queen, and that's important. And so tonight, with us showing our true authentic selves, I know for myself, I'm in my 40s, so I am showing my pores, I'm showing my wrinkles, my gray hair, because I want people to understand that it's okay to love yourself as is. You don't have to live up to the facade. You don't have to live up to those standards. So how about you, Alexis? What does it mean for you to have authentic, true representation of Black natural beauty?
It means, for me, it means to feel good and to be good in how I was made. And I believe in just being as natural as possible. If you think about something that's authentic, it's original, right?
Exactly.
It's originally made. And so I believe in embracing how you were originally made. So I have four daughters. I have a 16-year-old, 15-year-old, 7-year-old. I skipped my 13-year-old, 7-year-old. But then what I didn't mention is that I have bonus children also. And my oldest bonus daughter will be 22 this year. Okay. And I also have a bonus daughter who's 11. So I have a lot of girls.
Right.
That I have to represent for. And one of the things that I realized was if I'm going to try and cultivate them and help them to have the mindset of embracing who they were originally made, then I have to do the same thing. Exactly. And it means the world to me, because if it starts at home, then they take it out with them, and then they carry it with them into adulthood.
Right.
So
that's good. I like that. So for both you ladies, because I wanted you guys to come on, because when I follow you guys, I see strong queens. I see hardworking queens. We all have daughters. So I know it's important for all of us to have appropriate and accurate representation of Black beauty standards in our homes. So how do you find the internal strength, and when did you know, like around what age did you know that you were okay and you were comfortable with who you are, and accepting yourself and your strengths and seeing that strength in your natural beauty?
I was really, really, really fortunate. My mother, she always affirmed me. There was never a day that my mother did not affirm me.
Awesome.
And being a dark-skinned African-American girl, a lot of little girls didn't get affirmed. So my mother used to always tell me, don't you like chocolate better than vanilla? And I'm like, yeah. So,
I love that.
Yeah, so it's like my mother never gave me a complex about my complexion. My mother always told me I had beautiful shaped eyes. Wow. My mother always thank you, you too. But my mother did. She always affirmed me to the point where no one could tell me any different. I believed my mother.
Good.
And then as I got older and I had my peers, I noticed there was this big thing about wearing makeup. And I had friends that would sneak and put on makeup.
Right.
And I remember thinking, I wonder if I put on makeup, what would my mother do? So I remember one day I just put on some, I was about 12, 13, I put on some mascara. And my mother was like, And because she didn't make a big deal about it, I was like, it's not a big deal. And I realized makeup was to enhance, but I also noticed girls that wore makeup every day, and then when they didn't, they looked dead. Whereas I opted not to wear makeup. So then when I wore makeup, it's like, oh, you look. So it's like, just kind of finding this rhythm, this ebb and flow with it. But my mother affirmed me. So,
and thank
That's
God
awesome.
for mothers like that.
Yes.
Thank God for mothers like that. What about you?
For me, I have to be honest, this is an ongoing evolution with regard to my looks. My hair, I honestly think that maybe I was 13 years old.
Okay.
I think I initially wanted to look like everybody else because it looked cool to have weave, and I wanted to put, I think it was they called them latch hooks back in the day.
Yes.
I got the latches in my hair, and I didn't feel good. It was just like, I don't like how this feels. And I took it out, and that was it. And so, at any point in time that I wanted, to have a protective hairstyle, I resorted to braids. Anything other than that, I couldn't do it. There was a point in time where I was in college. Mind you, I am comfortable with my natural self. However, sew-ins became a big thing. So then there was college, and there was the influence of others, and it was like, oh, but you would look so good, and you would look, and you would look, and you would look, and it was like, okay, well, let me try it. And I tried it, and I didn't feel good. And it was just like, no, but it doesn't feel good to me. It doesn't feel, again, this isn't authentic. I don't feel original in this. I don't feel good. So I took it out. And then from there, I just decided I wasn't going to do it at all. And even as an adult, I was 8 months pregnant with my son.
Wow.
So this was about 3.5 years ago. And my bestie wanted me in her wedding, and she had asked for everybody to do sew-ins. And I was like, yeah, no. So like I said, it was an ongoing evolution. At first I thought, yeah, but no. And I was like, I like my hair the way it is. I really, me and sew-ins don't get along. Me and not natural hair don't get along. And I'm willing to straighten it for you in your aesthetics and your wedding. I'm not doing a sew-in. And that's when and it felt good to say that. It felt good, and I knew I was in the right place. So, and even still now, I have people coming to me telling me I should dye my locks. You should do this. You should do that.
Right.
And I'm still affirming myself, you know. That's not necessarily something I feel. I
Right.
feel that is for me.
Right.
And at a point in time that I do feel is for me, I will indulge in that. But as of right now, I'm comfortable with what I look like and how I, you know, present myself to other people, especially, most importantly, my daughters.
Right.
So, yeah. there's
Well,
that.
I'm so thankful to have strong women like you that will come and represent and show these young ladies, because you guys are strikingly beautiful. You're gorgeous, not only externally but internally as well.
Thank you.
And I think that strength is something that our young women, we need to show it. They need to see it, because we don't have representation like us on social media, music videos. Of course, they always have these video vixens, extensions and tans and the lashes and all that stuff, and that's perfectly fine if that's what you want to do. But I think it's important to have different types of representation.
We need options.
We need to see us. We need things for us, by us. We need to have authentic representation. So now I want to get into natural hairstyles and natural beauty in the workplace. Do you think being a woman of color, being natural, true to yourself, having ethnic hairstyles, do you think it hinders or it decreases your chances of promotion or being accepted at work?
So fortunately, I am self-employed as an artist, so
Yes.
I have a little more leeway than my counterparts.
Okay.
And I remember when I first decided to lock my hair 15 years ago, I was hesitant because at the time my spouse did not like locks, did not like natural hair. Like, I used to wear the micros. And I remember when I was transitioning out of the marriage, I started to get used to the texture of my hair. And you know, when your braids start to grow out, you get that little wave. And I used to just touch it. Like, I wonder.
Yeah.
And then eventually, my best friend is a loctician.
Oh, okay.
We had the conversation. And she was like, "Are you ready?" And I said, "Yes." And it was the best decision I ever made. I love my locks. This is my second set. And I wish all black women could have the experience because it's freedom.
Right. Right.
It's freedom.
It's
So.
freedom. So what about you?
I concur totally and completely. I actually went through a long journey of the want and the desire. And just, I think because I didn't have that affirmation, and it's not that, you know, it wasn't available. I just think that there's a lack of awareness, honestly, with, you know, my family background. And so I had to go find it for myself, you know. And I think coming out of high school, I wanted locks. I had a friend who had a mother who had sister locks, and they were dope. And I'm like, I would love to see that on my head. And so that just grew. It grew. Fast forward till 10 years from that time, I think I went natural. Like, I stopped relaxing my hair. I stopped straightening my hair. It got to the point where I was walking around with an afro.
Yeah.
And I would get so much praise from other people who wanted to see that and wanted to be that but wouldn't, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, you were so bold." And I'm like, why not? Like, you know,
do it.
I got the whole comment, "So you look like Pam Grier," and things like that. And then, you know, and I thought to myself, okay, so I've done this, okay, so
Right.
what's next? And
Right.
it was like, okay, it's either cut it and do something real wonky and crazy with it just because, or lock it, like, you know. And it's like, okay, it's time to lock it. And when I did, like she said, it was just the best thing ever, freedom. And I'm going to go into the workplace with being a nurse, honestly. I think that you want to see it differently because it's a healthcare field, but it's still like corporate. And people still look at you and want to judge you based off of how you look and tie that into how you would care for patients. And I found myself being hesitant to lock my hair before I went and got a job with the government, with the VA. And you know, what was interesting was when I got there, I was wearing my hair natural. I wear afro puffs and I would wear braids in certain ways. And I was almost treated as if I was some kind of show that was walking around, like a walking show. And I would get the gestures like, you know, wanted to touch my hair. And I you know, lean back like, you know, hey, you know, what's going on? And then I get the reaction like I was the problem because I didn't let them touch my hair, you know. And that's when it dawned on me, like, you know, I'm limiting myself when, you know, I was born this way. I should be allowed to wear my hair however it is that I feel that fits me best, especially in the way that it grows out of my head.
It's their God-given hair.
Right. So it's like it was meant to be this way, you know. And it was that experience that made me say, you know what, I'm going to lock my hair. And I locked my hair actually while working for that place. And let me tell you, the praise that I got from some of the women who understood but were not black was empowering, because I was literally at the time working in a place where I was the only black nurse.
Wow.
The only black nurse.
Wow.
So I started to lock my hair there, and the more that my journey progressed in their faces, the more questions that they had and more conversations. I think that it sparked about my hair and why I locked it and what the difference was. I think the more understanding, you know, that they were able to gain, but also the more that they understood, the more they wanted to empower me about it and say, hey, I think what you're doing is awesome. Like, you know, and so I just think that it takes for you to say, you know, I'm going to step out on faith and I'm going to do what feels good and feels right to me. And I'm going to be proud about it. And then one thing I think that if you walk in confidence and authenticity, people have no choice but to respect that.
Exactly. So whatever you put out for yourself, that energy, that confidence, people will eventually adapt to that. I know for myself, I've always loved curly hair, but I grew up in a time in the 70s and 80s where Pam Grier was all on the TV. That's all I saw was ladies with afros, and I wanted an afro and I wanted a jerry curl. So I was excited to rock my hair like that, but it was society that just kept telling me that that's inappropriate.
Right.
Your hair looks dirty. Why is your hair kinky and nappy? Even though I loved it, it was society that just kept trying to feed me and project their insecurities onto me that, you know, that's inappropriate. Why is it inappropriate?
Yeah.
And I always say, well, God doesn't make mistakes, so you need to take that up with God.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because this is what He gave me to grow up out of my scalp. And, you know, a lot of times when you accept yourself as being natural, you have to surround yourself with people who can understand and see you in that, because a lot of people will try to make you feel bad for that.
Yes.
And so I think it's important, again, that we understand to teach our young women and also our young men, because we have young men that are against, like, women with natural hair. You know, I'm reading some of these Facebook statuses, and they're saying, everybody look like James Brown with these afro, and just making fun of, you know, black women and stuff that are in their natural states and stuff, instead of saying, I see you and I think you're beautiful, you're still a goddess, you're still a queen. Like, let's feed some positivity into our young black men and women.
Yes, absolutely.
So, raising daughters. So we all have those beautiful black queens that we're raising.
Yes, we do.
So how important is it for you to continue the legacy and for you to continue to push this agenda to have self-acceptance? Now, we're not saying there's anything wrong with people who want to go out and add and do things to enhance their beauty, but how do we push this feeling of self-love based on being a natural being on our daughters and those around us, other women?
So what I've always instilled in my daughter was that she was my gift, and that God blesses us with our parents. Like, He gives us this DNA, this history, these ancestors, and, you know, they create what's to come. And we pour into these babies, and then it's like they grow, right? So my daughter, I've always told her, like, you're my gift, and I'm gifting you to the world.
Powerful.
So I love that she's comfortable in her own skin. She doesn't like to wear makeup. It's the biggest joke, because she's like, she's a cheerleader and they have to, and she's just like, I'll do the lashes, but
like, that's it, Mom.
Right.
Yeah, and it's just, you know, it's great to see her grow up and prefer her natural beauty. And she locked when she was 7, and she was supposed to keep them until she turned 18. Well, when she was 14, she asked me if she could take them out. Oh, broke my heart. But I told her, I said, it's hair. Do what you choose. I want her to have agency over her own body.
Yes, absolutely.
And make her own choices. So she combed her locks out. And she relocked 6 months ago.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So
That's awesome.
yeah, so it's like
Oh
she
my
came back full
God,
circle, but
yeah.
she just wanted to know because her friends, they kept doing all these
Mhm.
hairstyles and she felt limited.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And now she's figured out how to do the hairstyles over her locks.
Yes.
Wow.
So, just I love my daughter. I love our relationship, but most of all, I love her love for herself.
Yes. Awesome.
Awesome.
That's amazing.
So I know you have how many daughters now?
Well, bonus,
bonus
two, and then the
two,
ones that I
okay.
birthed, four.
Okay.
Yes.
So what do you teach them in a household, or how do you represent yourself and be your true natural beauty?
Well, I try everything first, and I try to be as candid and real and raw with them as much as possible. To let them know that I can relate to them even in my adult years. I even go back and I talk to them about my teenage years, and I tell them stuff and talk to them about things that I probably didn't talk to my mother or my best of friends then. Just to let them know, like I was 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17, and I
Right.
know what y'all thinking about, and I know how y'all feel, and I just want y'all to know, like, I relate to y'all even though I'm not that age anymore.
Right,
You know
right.
what I mean? So, to be honest, everything that I've ever wanted my kids to try out in regards to, understanding that their natural beauty is okay, I did it first.
Good.
And so all my girls, my oldest three girls, the 16, 15, and 13-year-old, they're all locked.
Wow.
So my sister's locked. She locked right after I locked.
Nice.
I have a mentee who she's like my personal mentee that I kind of took under my wing. She locked after I locked my hair,
Wow.
and it goes on because I have people around me that I have accepted that look at me, as a regard, as an example, and I've
Right.
just accepted it. And so, just like you said, I've always realized that I'm on assignment as a mother,
Right.
and I used to ask God sometimes because I wanted boys, and I'm like, there's a divine reason that God gave me these girls back to back the way that He did. Like, I have to accept this as an assignment. There's an assignment here. You know what I mean? I cannot fail. That's how I
Right.
look at it. And the fact that my daughters have decided to lock, and that they don't really care to emulate what they see, out in public. And even though they are on TikTok and on the internet, and they get into those things, they don't really get into the trends. Like
Right.
I guess it's entertainment for them or whatnot.
Right.
But
Okay.
they, it's funny because we leave the house sometimes and they don't care nothing about getting real, what people call it, say G'd up, or they don't care nothing about
Get
that.
dripped.
Yes.
They don't care
yes.
nothing about it. They're comfortable, and sometimes I'm like, it's okay. They're like, oh, mom, we're cool.
Right.
And when it comes to their hair, they're all about, mom, what else do I need to take care of? They're looking to me for it. They're not looking at everybody else. So it means the world to me to just do everything and try it myself, and then present it to them in the most relatable way possible, so that they can say, okay, I can see myself doing that. I can visualize myself being there. You know what I mean? And I think that if they feel, especially young people, they feel like you can relate to them, then they're more apt to try it your way. Yeah.
Okay, so we are going to close out shortly here. So last thing I want to talk about is the Crown Act. So recently, certain states, as late as 2020, 2021, have developed the Crown Act, where you can no longer be discriminated against because of your hair, with the braids, dreadlocks, your afros. First question, why did it take so long? But second of all, we are crowned with a purpose. So if you read the Bible and you dig into it, there were people that walked around with locked hair and natural hair. So why is it that society feels the need to tell us that it is okay for us to now be able to go into the workplace with braids, locks, and not be discriminated against in 2020?
Yeah, that's a very good
I
question.
mean, why? Why do you think it took so long?
The fact that it even exists,
Say that again.
the fact that it even exists tells you what America is really about.
Exactly.
The way that our hair grows out our head has always been a conversation,
It should not be held against us.
which should not be a conversation for anybody other than whose head
It
the hair is
goes
growing out
That's
of.
Yes,
true.
amen.
Yes.
So they're policing our hair, they're policing our body, they're doing all these things to try to oppress us, and we allow it, unfortunately, because we don't know what our options are. But the Crown Act, I have friends that were in the military, and I remember friends crying because they had to cut their locks because, they had to be in regulation with their unit. And they were really torn up about that because, your hair is also a spiritual piece.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And especially people with locks. Like,
Especially.
we don't let everybody do our hair. Like, it's my best
Don't
friend,
touch
she tell
my
you, she
hair.
say, I don't just do heads, I get in heads. Like, it's a spiritual piece. So our hair is very precious to us. And
It's an expression of who we are.
it is. So to be policed and given the okay to exist in a space as we are is an insult. And
Insult. To say the least.
to say the least, it's an insult. But what do you expect?
Right. Right.
It's where we're at.
Yes.
And all we can do is continue to be our authentic selves and walk proudly in who we are and what we represent and the gifts that are our crowns.
Well, for me, I think that the reason why this Crown Act exists is I think that there's been a conscious, like you said, oppression of the cultivation of our culture, the way that it originated. And one, because when all of this originated with America, we were stripped of everything that we knew, that we had known that we identified with as our culture and where we come from. And I think that there's been a constant extension of that stripping of who we are so that we can love ourselves, so that we can pass on generations of self-love and empowerment. And I think that it exists now, and this is my personal opinion, because there's an awareness now that has surfaced that the younger generation has demanded that it be something that's not judged, and they're more unapologetic about making sure that the people who are, lawmakers, and there are people who are regulating what's going on in the schools and the workplaces, that this is not okay. It exists now because it's, the revolution is televised now, and there's more of a push to say, okay, this was wrong and it's been wrong for quite some time now. Who's going to be accountable for making it right? And so now we have this, and it exists, and it's almost like a Band-Aid on a real serious issue. But really, it's a problem in itself that, like you said, that this even has to exist. It's a spit in the face. Again, because there's no other act for no other nationality, maybe except for Muslims because of the hijabs that they wear. But, that says, hey, you can be you unapologetically at work and everywhere else that's not at home in your neighborhood.
And our hair is the one thing that they cannot appropriate.
Yes.
Right.
The one thing.
That's the
You're
one thing.
leading into what I was going to say. And I think that the reason why some of the Crown Acts are starting to exist is because so many people have appropriated our culture that now they want to make it okay. But we have to wrap up, ladies. I want to thank these beautiful queens for joining me for Representation Matters. You can catch Jennifer on Facebook and Instagram.
Yes, Jennifer Adams on Facebook, J Adams Photography on Facebook, and JNAFOTO on Instagram.
And my beautiful friend Alexis, you can catch her on Facebook and Instagram.
Yes, Alexis Wymer on Facebook, Instagram, The Mindful, I don't even know my own Instagram.
That's okay.
The Mindful Nurse on Instagram, also A Piece of My Enterprises.
And of course, you can follow Raya's Razor Light Foundation LLC on Facebook, Raya's Razor Light _FDTN on Instagram, and you can connect with us at connect@rayasrazorlight.info on our website. Thank you so much for tuning in to Raya Hope the podcast. We'll see you soon. Have a great evening.
Bye.